Welcome to the Her Vibe is Pretty podcast, where you'll be guided on how to step up into your evolved woman,
design your dream life, and start living it. Let's get vibey.
Hey, Pretty Vibe Tribe. Welcome back to another episode of the Her Vibe is Pretty podcast. Today, I am doing a solo episode because Mary is getting ready for her app relaunch. And by the time this is out, that has already dropped. So if you haven't, make sure you go check out her new app. It is such a vibe, of course. I know that you guys wouldn't expect anything less. But anyway, because she is caught up with all of that, I'm doing a solo episode on a topic that I've talked a little bit about. And this topic actually got brought to the table, and the idea was sparked within me to create an entire podcast episode on this, because I was doing a live Q&A in my Diet Culture Dropout group, which I do monthly for all the members in there. And we were talking about manifesting. Manifesting is a topic that I have been really, really vibing with lately. It's been so much fun for me to introduce people to it and start to talk more and more about it and how I'm intentionally creating and manifesting my life. So we were talking about it in the group, and somebody had once heard me say that in order to manifest something, you have to start to act as if that thing has already manifested. And so the question got brought up, well, how do I act as if? How do I think as if? How do I live as though this thing has already manifested into my physical reality if it's not here yet? And so I gave this individual a couple of examples, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do an entire episode on this because this is such a powerful tool. And I have a bunch of specific examples that you guys can use to manifest and create the reality that you desire, the reality of your dreams. So the topic that we are talking about today is quantum physics and the quantum field. We talked a little bit about this on our episode with Christy Whitman. You guys have probably heard me mention it here and there on episodes before. And to be completely honest, I'm still in the beginning stages of studying quantum physics and the quantum field. So I'm going to briefly explain it. And you guys all know that I'm like really quick to believe full faith in something. So if somebody tells me, which I learned about the quantum field from a couple of my mentors, if one of my mentors is like, hey, this is what the quantum field is, this is what a quantum leap is, here's what I'm doing to create these quantum leaps in my life. So if you want these quantum leaps too, you should try it. I'm like, all right, hell yeah, I'm all in. However, the quantum field and quantum physics is science. That's why it's called quantum physics. And I'm not one that is too much, I don't look too much into the science. I really just live my life based off of beliefs and things that I learned from others. And of course, I'm open-minded and very open to hearing new ideas and ways of being. But my point to this is I'm not going to talk too much about the science underneath the quantum field. But if science is something that's intriguing to you, I highly recommend diving into quantum physics. I know there's lots of books on it, lots of resources. Joe Dispenza, we talk about him quite a bit here on the show. He is somebody who proves that law of attraction and manifestation is a very real thing and that it's not just spiritual through quantum physics. So if that's intriguing to you, go check it out. But I'm basically just going to sum up the quantum field and I'm not even going to sum up the quantum field because once again, I'm still diving into that. I'm going to sum up quantum leaping for you guys. We're going to talk about what a quantum leap is in very general and basic terms. And then I'm going to go into specific examples of the things that I have done to quantum leap and the things that I am doing now to quantum leap into my next manifestation, into my next physical reality. So obviously you guys can take whatever lands with you from the show. And this is definitely not going to be the only episode I do on the quantum field and quantum physics and quantum leaping, because as I learn more and more about it, I'm going to continue to share because I think it's so intriguing and so helpful when it comes to creating the realities of our dreams. And also it's really cool that I'm doing this episode now because while I have seen some quantum leaps happen in my life, I'm once again at the beginning stages of quantum leaping. So a lot of the things here that I'm sharing with you guys are me doing this in real time, preparing for my next quantum leap. So it's going to be really cool to like have this documentation, because one day in the future, when these quantum leaps, when they happen and I step up into this new reality I'm creating for myself right now through the practices I'm going to talk about, I can look back on this and be like, well, look, you guys, of course it worked. And here's proof of it. So let's just get into what a quantum leap is. So if you look up the definition on Google, which is what I did, it is defined as a huge, often sudden increase or advance in something. So I'm going to repeat that. A quantum leap is a huge, often sudden increase or advance in something. And so quantum leaping, in the terms that I'm talking about, is basically like you have something that you desire to manifest, right? And it's basically just quick manifestation. It's like, okay, I desire to manifest. We're going to talk about money right now because it's like the easiest thing to talk about when it comes to manifesting, and it's the most applicable to a lot of people. So say you desire to manifest $10,000. Quantum leaping is you intending to manifest that $10,000 today, and then that $10,000 hitting your bank account next week, when old you might have believed that it'd take you a year to save up $10,000. So quantum leaping is basically just like a sudden manifestation. And in my personal experience, as of now, it's not like super sudden, as in like next week, but it is quicker than maybe the limiting mind or the conditioned mind might believe. So another term that goes hand in hand with quantum leaping is collapsing time. So how I've seen this play out in people's lives is we have this conditioning, most of us do, that if you desire to create $100,000 in your savings, or if you desire to create $1 million year in your business or in your side business, or if you desire to make $1 million a year in your career, the minds in us are very conditioned to believe that it's going to take a very long time to create that amount of money. So maybe if you are in a corporate job, maybe in the mind and you think like, oh, it's going to take, 15, 20 years for me to climb the ladder to get to the top, to get to the corporate suite in order to be making $1 million. If that's what you desire. I'm just using a million because it's an easy number to use. Or if you want to save $100,000, the conditioned mind might tell you it takes forever to save that. Collapsing time is basically like you collapse time and you create the $1 million year, or you create the 100,000 in your bank account in a way shorter amount of time than the mind in you right now may believe it takes to create that money. And this goes along with everything, maybe your dream home. And of course, that kind of goes hand in hand with money, but like the mind in you might think that it's going to take 20 years to live in your dream home. Maybe your dream home is on a beach like mine is, or maybe it's in the mountains, or maybe it's in another country. The mind in you may believe right now that it's going to take 15, 20 years, maybe even longer, to live in that dream home. Maybe your mind doesn't even believe right now that it's possible for you to live in that dream home. You have the power to collapse time and live in that dream home way quicker than the mind in you right now believes. So that's what quantum leaping is. It's pretty much just like quick manifestations. So how do we quantum leap? How do we make this work for us in our lives? And of course, I'm going to give you guys examples. And I just want to start by throwing out there that I've been talking about manifesting a lot. And when I talk about manifestation, it's very easy to talk about money, just because money is something that we all need to live. And a lot of the times when we think of our big desires and dreams, money is something that can help us create that reality. And it's also, in my opinion, an amplifier of life in general. And now I know that not everybody has that belief, and that's okay. And this stuff absolutely applies to things outside of money. So let's talk about like love and a partnership. Maybe that's something that the mind in you has a lot of limitations around. and you desire to quantum leap and manifest the dream partner in 2 weeks rather than the mind in you, their limits of 2 years or whatever it is. So I just want to throw out there right now that I am going to refer to money quite a bit in this. And if you are triggered by that, first of all, it's okay. I once had a coach tell me that if I'm not triggering you, I'm not doing my job. And at first I was like, is this bitch serious? But then I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Because once I started learning about triggers and how if she triggers me, it has nothing to do with what she said, everything to do with something inside of me that I'm not acknowledging or that's wounded or whatever it is. And so I took that and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And I hope that I do trigger my clients. And even if you're not a paying client of mine, I do see myself as kind of a coach figure to you, a mentor of some sort. And so I hope that I trigger you guys sometimes because triggers are our best opportunities to learn and grow and do a higher version of ourselves. So, and obviously, you guys all know that Mary and I are very open to having genuine conversations about things. So if you're ever triggered about something, or if you ever want to, comment on something that I say that was triggering to you, please slide into our DMs because we are more than happy to have those conversations. All right. So now that that's out of the way, let's talk about the word personality for a second. So personality, break the word down. Personality is your personal reality. Your personality creates your personal reality. Say that one again. Your personality creates your personal reality. So this goes along with what Mary and I say all the time. Your internal reality is creating your external reality. What's happening outside of you is a direct reflection of what's happening inside of you, in your mind, in your body, and in your soul. So with that, that's like the basis of starting to quantum leap. So you have to really break down your personality and you have to explore what is my personality right now and how is it creating my personal reality? And what can I shift my personality into in order to create the personal reality that I desire? So if you have a notepad or grab the little notes app on your phone, if you're driving, obviously don't take these notes right now, re-listen and write it down later. But there are 4 questions that you get to ask yourself when it comes to quantum leaping. So first of all, you have to know the version of you that you desire to become. Okay, so you have to think of your evolved self, your highest, best self, the highest version of you that Mary and I, through every episode on Her Vibe is Pretty so far, have been encouraging you to step up into. Who is your highest, best self? You have to be very clear on that in order to quantum leap. So, of course, my highest, best self has a lot of amazing qualities. Some of them I'm embodying right now. Some of them I'm not quite embodying yet. And my highest best self, and I have zero shame in sharing this with you guys, is a millionaire. And so this is important because you have to figure out who your highest best self is so you can constantly ask yourself the questions that I'm going to share with you next. So my highest best self is a millionaire and she's fucking awesome. And she does a lot of good work in the world and she inspires a lot of good people. And she also lives her life and she travels and she sightsees and she's an interior designer and she does all these awesome things. So you need to decide who your highest best self is. And if you resonate with the money part of all of this, if you are trying to quantum leap into a higher income right now, then you can decide on your highest best self and how much money that version of you is creating in your reality. Okay. So the 4 questions that you get to ask: 1, how does this version of me think? 2, how does this version of me act? 3, how does this version of me feel? And 4, what does this version of me believe? Those are the 4 most important questions when it comes to quantum leaping. Whether you're quantum leaping into a higher level of income, whether you're quantum leaping into a higher position in your job, whether you are quantum leaping into the partnership of your dreams, whether you're quantum leaping into a new version of health and wellness, because I actually have an example of that I'm going to share with you guys, and how I helped myself quantum leap into a new standard of health for myself, of healthy living. So you get to ask yourself those 4 questions. And the questions for me right now, and here's the thing too, we've been talking about this in my diet culture dropout group as well, and in Breathe Free actually. So I ask myself, when it comes to quantum leaping, how does the millionaire version of me think? How does the millionaire version of me act? How does millionaire me feel about this? And what does millionaire me believe? Those are just it just rolls off my tongue. It's very easy for me to say. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm right now in this moment working on the millionaire version of me. Like, I am in a greater perspective, but as far as like my smaller goals go, that's not what I'm working toward. I'm working on a smaller, much smaller number than that. But when it comes to quantum leaping, I like to shoot for the absolute stars because I can, and it's fun for me. And it's going to be really fun for me to see when the millionaire me actually manifests and come to fruition, and to compare that back to this episode right now. So for me, saying millionaire me, it doesn't just mean the money. It really encompasses a lot of different qualities, a lot of different things that I'm doing in the world, right? Because back to desire factor, which we've been talking about a lot as well lately, our desires are super divine. So in order for me to even quantum leap up into millionaire me, there are a lot of things that I get to continue to shift and grow and evolve into. There are a lot of offerings that I get to create that are going to help even more people in the world. There are a lot of different things and a lot of different aspects that I get to bring into my life in order to level up into the version of me who is a millionaire, even with quantum leaping. My point of that is, if you desire, if it's a deep desire of yours to be a millionaire one day, but the mind in you is like, oh my God, like how though? And the mind freaks out when it thinks of the number a million. You can still play with millionaire you if you desire to, if that sounds fun. If it sounds fun to ask yourself, oh, what does millionaire me think? Because for me, it truly does feel fun. And like I said, it rolls off of my tongue, but you don't have to use that. Maybe you use, what does figure version of me think? Or maybe right now you are in a corporate job and you desire to become an entrepreneur. So maybe your question to you is, what does the version of me who is an entrepreneur, what does that version of me think? What does the entrepreneur version of me believe? How does the entrepreneur version of me act? And how does the entrepreneur version of me feel? Or, and I'm actually going to use an example of this as well. Maybe you desire to become a mom and you're not a mom yet. You can ask yourself, how does the mom version of me, like when I am a mom, how does that version of me think? How does that version of me act? How does that version of me feel? What does that version of me believe? Or I'm going to give you guys one more example just so you can like start to solidify the question that you're going to ask yourself from this episode on out. You can ask yourself, and I'll get into this as well as I give you guys my examples from the past. You can ask yourself, what does the healthy version of me think? What does the healthy version of me believe? How does the healthy version of me act? How does the healthy version of me feel? So I want you guys to decide right now on what you desire to quantum leap into. What's a manifestation that you would love to happen quickly, and get super clear on the questions that you're going to start asking yourself. That is step 1, because let's full circle it back to our personality is creating our personal reality. And our personality is made up of what we think, how we act, how we feel, and what we believe. So I want you guys to come up with your questions and get in the habit of asking yourself that every single day. And now I'm going to go into examples that I use right now and that I've used in the past to start to quantum leap and have these quick manifestations happen in my reality. So let me start with one that has already happened. And this one, and not saying that any of this is easy, it's challenging, but it's challenging for a reason, because through the challenges, we always grow. And the challenges are part of us quantum leaping, in my opinion, because challenges are a catalyst for growth if we let them be. So you all know about the acne journey that I had battled acne for a really long time. And for a long time, I identified with it. So when it came to quantum leaping, I would ask myself, what does the version of me who has clear skin, what does that version of me think? How does that version of me act? How does that version of me feel? And what does that version of me believe? Once upon a time, right in the middle of the acne I was experiencing, so I had a face full of acne, I started asking myself those questions and I figured out, well, this version of me with clear skin does not wear foundation every single time she leaves the house. Because at the time when I was struggling with all of that acne, I'd put foundation on every single time I left to hide the blemishes on my face. And that was keeping me trapped in that reality to an extent. So the version of me with clear skin, I decided back then, even with the face full of acne, the version of me that has clear skin does not wear foundation every single time she leaves the house. She wears it sometimes, maybe on special occasions to make her skin look evenly toned, but she doesn't wear it every time she leaves the house. So, though it was hard, though it was a struggle, I stopped. I stopped putting on foundation every single time I left the house. I started doing it less and less and less, eventually got it down to special occasions, even when I was experiencing the acne. So another thing that I asked myself, and this is going to really contradict what a lot of dermatologists and a lot of skin experts say, and I probably said it before too, but there would be nights, and now I love skincare and I actually really, really love washing my face now. Actually, you know what? That's another one. That's another way that I quantum leapt. So when I was struggling with the acne, I hated washing my face. I hated it because I would have to look in the mirror and see all the acne. I hated it because as I would wash my face, I would feel the bumps on my face, which would make me upset about the acne in itself. And so I asked myself, does the version of me with clear skin hate washing her face? No, she does not. So I found ways to enjoy washing my face back then, which really consisted of sending love and acceptance and compassion to my skin, which helped it clear in itself. So maybe that contributed to the quantum leap that I experienced here. So the version of me who has clear skin, and it's funny because like I have clear skin now and all of this stuff is true. But back then I decided the version of me who has clear skin enjoys washing her face. So I found ways to enjoy it then. Now, going back to the one that's a little contradictory to what every single professional in the skincare industry says, I also decided because there were nights that I was like really, really tired and super exhausted. And, you know, if you are somebody who is like into your skincare, you know what I'm saying when I explain this. Like, there are just those nights where you just like can't wash your face. You're just too exhausted. You're so comfortable in bed and you're like, I literally cannot get out of this bed. So the version of me who is experiencing acne would force myself out of bed, even when it felt like the worst struggle ever, to wash my face. And I'd be grumpy while doing it. And I was just in a low vibrating energy. And then that version of me asked myself, well, wait, does the version of me with clear skin force herself to wash her face every single night? No. She allows herself the grace to skip here and there. So I started doing it. I stopped putting out so much pressure on myself to wash my face every single night. I stopped telling myself that in order to clear the skin, you have to wash your face every morning and every night, because the reality of it was back then, I had struggled with acne for like 12 years. And a lot of those 12 years, I washed my face morning and night and it didn't clear the skin. So I don't know why I continued to buy in that belief. Anyway, those were three things that I started doing. I stopped wearing foundation as much because version of me with clear skin doesn't. Stop forcing myself to wash my face every night. And when I did wash my face, I found ways to love it. And here I am with clear skin, embodying all of that. But the point is, I started doing it when I was experiencing the acne, which helped shift my personality, which then helped shift my personal reality and clear my skin. That's how I quantum leapt when it came to clearing my skin. I started embodying the version of me that has clear skin before that was my personal reality. Okay. So hopefully that is starting to make sense. That's like one of my best stories when it comes to the things that I've already quantum leapt with. now I am going to share with you guys some examples of things that I'm doing now to embody millionaire me before the $1 million is in my bank account. So these are things I'm doing in real time. So these are ideas that I'm throwing out at you guys to, if you are going through a higher money goal, you can ask yourself the same questions. And even if it's not a higher money goal or a higher career, you're going to start to get the hang of quantum leaping and how to do it. Let's talk about paying bills and or paying taxes and or getting your checks from your company and seeing how much money was taken out for taxes. Paying bills and paying taxes does not phase the $1 million me. And this version of me today, August 30th of 2021, is not a millionaire yet. And there was a part of me when I'd pay bills or pay my taxes that would still cringe a little bit and contract a little bit. And so because I'm quantum leaping into a higher financial income, into $1 million me, I decided that $1 million me does not get phased by doing any of that. $1 million me is actually super grateful to pay the bills, which is keeping a roof over my head, which is keeping our refrigerator running, which is keeping me and my family healthy and happy. It's keeping the heat on. It's keeping the water running. Millionaire me fully embraces that. And I'm not saying that the version of me now doesn't. Of course, I began to really, really shift this recently, but an older version of me really still had that contraction in my body when paying the bills or when paying taxes. But millionaire me does not feel that way about bills or taxes, does not think that way about bills or taxes, has a completely different perspective. So that is what I am beginning to embody. Another thing is, this is like a newer one that I started doing, but millionaire me has this absolutely beautiful closet. And I can see it right now in my mind. I am a huge Pinterester, so I'm always reposting Pinterest closets. And I can see the closet of my dreams, and it will be mine. And that is the closet that $1 million me has. So I thought about it, and millionaire me has like a section for my workout and yoga clothes. And my shirts are hanging up on hangers up top. And then all my leggings or my yoga pants or my workout pants are hanging on hangers below them. And the other day I was putting away my laundry. And because, like I said, I'm really into this quantum leaping stuff as of lately. I was putting away my laundry and I took one of my yoga shirts and I just like chucked it in I have like those little mesh drawer things. You guys know what I'm talking about? It's like you have like 6 cubbies and then you put the mesh drawers in the cubbies and they're like different drawers for different things. And so one of those mesh drawers is the drawer for my workout shirts. So I was doing my laundry, grabbed my workout shirt, balled it up, threw it in there. And then I stopped. And I was like, wait a second. Does millionaire me just chuck her nice yoga clothes into a drawer? No. Millionaire me has these yoga clothes hanging up on nice hangers. So I'm like, oh my gosh, that is one little simple act that I can shift to more so embody my $1 million self. So I did. In that moment, I seriously took out all my yoga shirts, grabbed some hangers, and started folding my yoga shirts super nicely over my hangers, and I hung them back up. So something so simple, you guys, like a shift so simple can help you really, really change your life. So going along with habits around the house, because there's a couple more things that I started doing. Now, my partner and we like to keep a tidy home for sure, but we don't have a dishwasher. And it is very, very easy. And if you don't have a dishwasher, you understand it is super easy to let dishes build up here and there when you don't have a dishwasher, because you're like, oh, it's just one cup. And then like, it's just another cup, but then like, it's just another plate. Oh, but it's just one fork. And then all of a sudden you have a half sink or a full sink of dishes. So a couple of weeks ago, I was walking around the house and I saw the sink full of dishes and I stopped once again. And I was like, wait a second. $1 million me never has a full sink. $1 million me has a spotless sink. $1 million me also always has an empty hamper. Why? Well, $1 million me more than likely hires help with that stuff. $1 million me has the desire to hire help with the things that I don't love doing so that I can do more of what I love to do, which is create things and inspire the world and uplift the world and travel and spend time with my future kids and whatnot. So $1 million me hires help to help with the dishes and help with the laundry and help with the housework. And a lot of the times what I'm teaching you guys right now is kind of misunderstood as like, oh, in order to embody the version of me that's making six figures or multiple six figures or $1 million, I have to spend a bunch of money. And that is so far from the truth. In that moment, the thought in my mind wasn't like, oh, I should, try to start hiring help for this. No, it was, okay, $1 million me just simply has an empty sink and empty hamper. So I now get to create boundaries with myself and my partner. I get to have this conversation with him and intend to always have a clean sink and intend to always have an empty hamper. Like, let's not wait until the hamper fills all the way up to do laundry. Let's just keep up with it. And I actually had that conversation with him. We both agreed. So that's what we've been doing. And we're not perfect. And the thing is, $1 million me is not perfect either. $1 million me, I don't know. She probably doesn't have somebody coming to do her dishes every single day. So I'm sure $1 million me, especially with kids, will have some dishes in the sink here and there. I'm not saying we're perfect, but the intention is there. I'm now more so embodying the household that $1 million me has. And that is morphing me into the version of me that's $1 million me. Another area to consider is lifestyle. So this is something that I went through a while back, and this also went hand in hand with like all the work that I do with habits and shifting from your destructive cycles into more nourishing, wholesome cycles. But you get to ask yourself, does this version of me spend my free time watching TV and Netflix, or does this version of me do yoga at night or take walks? So does the millionaire you spend time watching TV and drinking and smoking, or does the millionaire you do something that's more wholesome? Does the version of you that's a mom or a dad or a parent, does that version of you spend a bunch of time binging Netflix? Or does that version of you choose to take walks with your kids every night? Does the version of you who's an entrepreneur watch Netflix every single night? And I'm not saying Netflix is bad. I definitely still watch Netflix. It's just a really easy example to use. Or does that version of you do something else? Or is it a mix of both? For me personally, millionaire me does have a mix of both. Millionaire me most nights loves to spend time at the beach watching the sunset. Actually, millionaire me lives on a beach. So once again, that's another thing I've been embodying lately. Millionaire me has a gym with a view of the beach and the lake because that's where millionaire me lives. And so something that I've decided I'm going to start doing is whenever I'm at the gym, I always visualize, like whenever I'm doing my workouts, I'll visualize my future home gym. I'll visualize the water in front of me and I'll tell myself like just 2 more squats and then you get to like be done with the workout and you get to run out into the water and it's going to feel so refreshing. And then I thought about it. I'm like, wait a second. I live like 10 minutes from a beach. I can start embodying that version of me that does that now. It's going to look a little different. I'm not going to be able to walk out my door and run into the water, but I am going to be able to hop in my car, change into my suit, drive 10 minutes and go into the water. So that's another way I've been embodying millionaire me. And I've just been spending more time at the beach and swimming and in the water because that's what millionaire me does. So anyway, back to what I was saying about a mix of both. Millionaire me personally likes to have nourishing, wholesome nights at the beach, watching sunsets, making homemade dinners, going on walks, doing yoga, journaling, all of that. And millionaire me watches a little bit of Netflix here and there, watches movies here and there. So that's just a couple of other things that you can start doing. Another thing you can ask yourself is, what does your calendar look like? Like when you are living the life as the you that you are quantum leaping into. So when you're living as a millionaire or an entrepreneur, or when you're living as a 6-figure business owner, or when you're living as a partner to somebody else, what does your calendar look like? and then compare that to what your calendar looks like now. How can you shift your calendar now to align more with that higher version of you or with your evolved self? So, speaking of partners, this is one that actually, when I told Mary I was doing this episode, she threw this one out there and I thought it was so good. She heard this from somebody else. I can't remember who she heard it from, but there was this individual who was single and really wanted a relationship. And she learned about quantum leaping and she started like asking herself these questions. Okay, like what is the version of me who's in a relationship? How does that version of me think, act? What does that version of me feel and believe? And so one of the things was that she was like every single night she was sleeping on this bed all sprawled out. And then she asked herself these questions. She's like, wait a second, the version of me who has a partner is not sprawled out all over the bed. The version of me who has a partner sleeps on half of the bed. And so that's what she started doing to help manifest her partner. So if you are somebody who's attracting and quantum leaping into the love of your life, you get to ask yourself these questions with the version of you who's not single anymore in mind. So, what is the version of you who's not single anymore? What does that person's house look like? How does that person sleep? How does that person act, think, feel, believe? What does that person, what does that version of you do with your time? Like, what does your calendar look like? So, this applies to literally every area. Another thing is planning future travel. So, for me, millionaire me is always traveling. And maybe you're not quantum leaping up into millionaire you, but maybe you are quantum leaping into a version of you that's a digital nomad that travels all the time while working. So, what you get to start doing now is research flights, research hotels that cost nothing to do, but that's starting to embody that version of you. So, for me, millionaire me travels a lot. So I'm constantly doing that. I'm constantly going into my computer and searching flights and hotels and creating Pinterest boards and posting on Pinterest boards with the attitude of I'm going here and feeling into the feelings that I'll feel when I visit that location. When I visit Bali and when I visit Australia, of course, feeling the feels is always super important, but I'm always researching that kind of stuff with the attitude of I'm going to book trips right now because I can, because I have the freedom and the flexibility and the money to do so. So I'm not saying that you have to like go through and book the trip. You absolutely don't. And if you have some extra money and you want to book a trip and embody that version of you, cool. But what I'm saying is that it's just these simple acts and these simple thoughts that can really quantum leap you into your next level. So I'm going to give you one more example. I could literally sit here and do this all day. This is supposed to be a short episode, but here I am because there are just so many examples that you can start doing now. So when Zach and I move, so this is kind of like this is a fun one because this is gonna, and I'm not trying to limit myself, but this one will more than likely happen and be manifested before millionaire me manifests. My next home that I'm manifesting, and of course I'm doing quantum leaping stuff around this too, is in a little city called Grand Rapids, which is near us. And it's on the street called Wealthy Street, which is like a super vibey street. And in Grand Rapids, there's actually this meal prepping service that preps healthy meals. And I can actually trust it. There's a lot of meal prepping services out there that say they're healthy. And then you look at the ingredients and they're shit. But I've actually worked with these functional medicine doctors before, and they just recently teamed up with a team of cooks and chefs, and they're now doing this amazing meal prepping service. So when we moved to Grand Rapids, I desire to get meal plans for Zach and I. I didn't desire to sign us up for those meal prepping services. And so right now, living where I live, I don't have the ability to do that, but I have the ability to start manifesting that. And so the way that I did that is the other day I went to this cute little cafe near me that doesn't do meal prepping services, but they do have meals that you can like go in there and just straight up buy. So the other day I went there for like a smoothie or something, and I had this realization that, oh my gosh, this is a way that I can start living that life now is I can go to the counter before I leave and I can buy a couple of meals for Zach and I the next day. Because thankfully and of course I'm so grateful, but I have manifested enough money thus far to be able to do something like that. And so I did. So that was just a simple way that I am embodying that life, that version of me. I've given you guys some very real, very honest examples. And once again, you guys all know I'm just trying to be honest with you guys along this journey, because I think it's super important that we let you into our lives, our personal lives, and we're raw and vulnerable with all of this stuff, because it's really is the best way to learn. I feel like there have been so many mentors I've run into in my life that they hide things, they hide desires, they hide flaws, they hide whatever it is. And it's like really tough to like actually learn and implement the things that they're trying to teach into my life, because it's just not reality. And there's like a lot of shame and guilt and questions that come with somebody not being super raw and honest and vulnerable about all of this. So I hope that all of this has helped you guys. Like I said, there's thousands of examples and I could go on and on. And if you are attempting to quantum leap into a higher version of you that doesn't relate to anything that I said, please DM me, send me a DM, let me know the version of you that you're quantum leaping up into. And I'd be more than happy to help you guys think of ways that you can shift your thinking, your acting, your feeling, and your believing to more so align with that next level of you. Because this shit works. I've done it a couple of times and now I'm really diving all in. So there are some examples. Start doing this when it comes to manifesting anything you desire to manifest. The quicker you can embody the version of you that has that, or that is that, or that lives that life, the quicker you're going to manifest it into your physical reality. So I hope this landed with you all. Let me know if it did. If you loved it, screenshot it, share it with your story, your friends on Instagram, Facebook. Leave us a rate and review. Those are always so freaking appreciated. I love you guys so much. Thank you for listening. I will talk to you all soon. And Mary and I will both see you next week on the Her Vibe is Pretty podcast.